Red Crimson Gaming here. If you're new to my channel, you already know what to do. Like and subscribe now. This has been a video that I've been wanting to make for a very long time now, and it's the state of video games and where they're headed. Always told myself, actually recently I told myself that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be my last console, or more so going forward. Nintendo consoles are the only consoles I'm going to support moving forward. Reason being, I don't like where the industry is heading, the all digital future. I don't have anything against digital. Digital is fine, but when you're trying to make it the mainstay, that's when it becomes a problem. See, the thing with digital games is that you can't own your games. You're just renting the games, and once the licenses are up for whatever reason, the company goes out of business or music licenses expire and they have to replace the music with music from whatever music piece the company wants to replace it with, that alters the game. Little things like that alters the games, and your favorite game will disappear forever. Servers shut down, companies go out of business. And as you can see, my background, I have a plethora of games, and part of, especially with a Nintendo Switch, what made it so appealing to buy games for it, and I know a lot of gamers out there feel the same way as me, is collecting the games, buying the games and having them on your shelves, playing them of course too. I mean, don't get me wrong, we buy games to play them, but part of what made the Switch appealing is the physical games that you can buy, knowing that those games are future proof and you can play them several years, decades later down the line, and your kids can play those games several years and several decades down the line. Now, Xbox is pretty much the company that started the whole digital movement back in even the 360 era, but even in the 360 era, it wasn't as bad. The thing is, with what makes a console is its physical media, and we all know this growing up. I've been gaming since the 80s. I game harder than anybody you may even know, even people on YouTube. People on YouTube, they don't even game on my level. There's a lot of games I never heard of and never played of, and there's a lot of fake gamers nowadays, and a lot of people running around saying that they're gamers and they're not really gamers. If you play games like sports games and battle royale games, first person shooters only, you're not really a gamer. You're pretty much a casual gamer, and that's okay, that's fine. But a lot of those casual gamers do not buy video games. Now you have Game Pass, which I don't support. I don't like, because you only renting your games. The game stays on the service for several weeks and then it goes away, just like a Netflix movie would. A buddy of mine told me, hey, you know, that game you said you wanted that's coming on Switch 2, they got it on Xbox. And I told him, well, I don't game on Xbox and I do not like to rent my games. I like to own my games, knowing that I can play my games years later down the line. I'm not for the moment type of gamer, and I don't game for everybody else. I game for myself. And a lot of these new generation kids, they only play the games that their friends may play. And what if, you know, say one day, which that day will come, they stop playing a certain game? What are you gonna do? You're gonna stop playing that game too? So that's why it's also important to find the games that you like and to game for yourself and not game for anybody else, because what somebody else may like, you may not like, and what you like, somebody else may not like it as much. They may just be playing that game for the moment. Now, going into Xbox One, we saw why Xbox One failed. They had this all digital future set up. They had a DRM future, and they are also the creators of DRM, Digital Rights Management, which I hate. I'm pretty sure a lot of other gamers hate. And we see the situation that Xbox is in now. They're pretty much a third-party company for going against the grain. And that's why nobody buys Xboxes anymore. Nobody plays Xboxes anymore. And they're pretty much a third-party company, and they deserve it, because I always thought that Microsoft were perpetrators. They weren't in it for the passion of gaming. They were just in it for the money, and they barely even making money off of their Xbox division. You can't turn a console into a PC. They're two different entities. And when you have a console on the market, you have to play by the console rules. What do I mean? Yes, you have the restrictions of the graphics may not be on par as a PC or higher frame rates at a PC, but you had a physical media, and developers knew what they were working with once they had the consoles, because all consoles are the same, unlike PC, which everybody PC build is different. So it's kind of hard to tailor make a game for a PC to make it work flawlessly across the boards like you would smoothly on a console. But anyway, I'm not with all this digital rights movements. I like to own my games. So, and I don't like what the competition is doing. Sony and Microsoft. PlayStation is cool. They're not there all the way. They still have the PS5, which has physical media, of course. And if I see a game on that system that I like, I buy it physically. And I have digital games as well too. The digital games are a lot cheaper, so it's kind of more enticing. Your money goes a far way. $100 can buy you a handful of digital games, whereas with the physical games, $100 may get you like 1 to 2 games. Because video games are pretty much expensive now, and the price hike with the tariffs going on is making the situation even worse. Now gamers have to be more conscious and selective of the titles that they purchase and the amount of games that they purchase. Some people may purchase 3-4 games a week or 5-6 games a month because the games were fair in price and they were cheap. But for the tariffs and $80 and up for a video game, it may boil down to you buy 1 game a month or even 2 games a month. Whatever you can afford. As adults, we have responsibilities and priorities, and as well as myself, like I have a business, so I don't really have time to be wasting as much money on video games. And video games is a passion of mine. I've been gaming since the 80s. I've been around for a very long time. I had an Atari and everything. Wasn't really into the Atari. I didn't like it. Nintendo is really what got me into gaming. My dad brought me the Nintendo from England one day and hooked it up, saw Mario run across the screen, and that was it. And a lot of people can relate to that, and that's why Nintendo is loved until this day, because we all grew up playing Nintendo. They're still here, and they still make the best games, the greatest games, and they're still creative, and that's what I like about them. And Nintendo is like the last bastion for physical media. Nintendo always supported physical media heavily, especially with their handheld consoles. And that's part of the reason why, like I said before, the Switch did so well. Is because they had physical copies of your favorite games. Once you bought it, you put it on that shelf, it was there forever. You cannot delist a cartridge. But even the digital era seems to be catch up in Nintendo. This new president, he's a little bit different. He's being more like, the competition. Now we have these digital game key cards that has been a rant for quite some time, and a lot of people have issues with them. A lot of people do not like them. I myself, I do not like it. Some people say they like it better than the code in the box. They're very similar, but I get it. It's actually better, but at the same time, they're still bad. Now, don't fret, because not all games are going to be under digital game key cards. We're still going to have a whole bunch, a plethora of games fully on cart. For example, games like Cyberpunk and keep forgetting that game. The game where you're in those mechs. Forgot the name of. For some reason, I could never remember the name of that game. But there are a few handful of games that are still going to be fully on cartridge, especially the Nintendo first-party games. You can count on Nintendo to put all their games on cartridges. So we'll see what happens in a year or two as time goes by, and see if developers start, taking the cartridges more serious and start shying away from those digital game key cards. I know they're a lot cheaper. It doesn't cost the developers that much, so they'd rather go that route. And I think that Nintendo is to blame for that, because they gave them that option. So Nintendo's to blame. You really cannot blame the developers, because if I'm a developer and I know it costs $30 to mass produce each cartridges, and I have to put 2 million, print 3 million cartridges out there to the world, or even more, that's going to cost a lot of money. And with the tariffs, it's not making anything any better. So I wouldn't even be surprised if Nintendo go all digital with their next system or with the next revision of the Switch 2. But only time will tell. I mean, hopefully prices get cheaper, and it should as time goes on. The cartridges get cheaper and whatnot. But with these tariffs, I really do not know. Because I remember back in the N64 era, those cartridges took a longer time to make, and they were very, very expensive, like $80, $90 a pop, if I can remember. But as time went on, those cartridges did get really cheap. I remember purchasing Turok 3 for, I think, $30. I cannot remember. They got cheaper after a while. But I'm hoping the same thing happened with these Switch 2 cartridges. But yeah, man, most people only play like battle royale games and first-person shooters, and I see they start taking the campaign and the storyline out of games. And I've seen some weirdos even saying, well, you know, a fighting game doesn't need to have a storyline, and this game doesn't need to have a storyline. Well, every video game should have a storyline. That's why they have different modes. If you don't have a storyline or a campaign in the game, what's the purpose of you playing a game? That game is going to get boring and you're going to move on. But if you have campaign and a storyline, that actually gives the game legs and more incentive for you to go back and play that game. Because you remember the struggle the character had to go through. It could be a struggle that you yourself could relate to, and this keeps you coming back to the game. For example, look at games like Expedition 33. That game is getting a lot of praise right now, right? Because it has a good storyline in there. So you think Expedition 33 would be a successful game as it is now if it didn't have a storyline in there? Come on, Pete, doesn't make any sense. But Street Fighter, they took the storyline of the Street Fighter 4, I believe, on PlayStation 4 back in the days, and that didn't go well. It didn't even sell 1 million copies, and Capcom had to retread, and they had to actually make a campaign mode for that storyline mode and put it in the game. And they learned their lesson, and when they moved on to Street Fighter 6, that definitely had some kind of storyline to it. Excuse me, guys, it wasn't Street Fighter 4, it was Street Fighter 5 that didn't have a storyline, so forgive me on that. But I'm not really feeling this whole digital age. You know, I'm old school, and, you know, I know what the value is to hold something in your hand. I remember buying the video games, getting the booklet with the game, the manual, the stickers, well, not stickers, but you know, the posters and the goodies that came with it. I mean, it was so fun just skimming through those things, you know, riding home after purchasing the game, and you opening the box and see what comes in the game. And every game had a manual, and I miss those days. And even something simple as going to GameStop. A lot of people, you know, they hate on GameStop, and I'm not gonna lie, they do have a lot of bad practices at GameStop. It's like you have a love and hate relationship with them. I know I do. Their customer service is very, very, very terrible. Their policies are very terrible. And even people that work at GameStop would tell you that the bosses treat them bad, that the company treats them really bad. But it's like, I wouldn't want to see them go away because we need GameStop. If it wasn't for GameStop, people wouldn't be able to get a Nintendo Switch 2 pre-ordered. With all the pre-order fiasco that was going on with these big retailers at Target, Walmart, Best Buy, we saw how that was. It was terrible. So imagine a world with no brick and mortar video game store. You can't go to the store and buy the actual video game, actual console. You have to fight with these bots online. I mean, that's a mess. But people don't think about things like that. You never know what you have until you're gone, until it's gone. That's you know that good old saying. You never miss it until it's gone. All the flat they talk about GameStop. If GameStop's supposed to disappear, poof, one day in the air, everybody would be sad. Where are you gonna buy your games at? You see what I'm saying? And you know, it's just cool. Just, you know, a video game is coming out or a console is coming out. In present day, the Switch 2, for example, people waited in line for it. You meet a lot of cool people in line. You interact with them, exchange numbers, laugh, talk about your favorite experience, your favorite games and whatnot. So when we go all digital, I mean, where's the fun factor in that? What's so fun about just waking up? You know a game is coming out at 12 o'clock. You just wake up and download it. Oh, I got a new download. It's not the same as you going to the store and interacting with people. Like, you know, being social in the real world is better than being social in the digital world, because you're not interacting with people in the digital world. But in the social world, in the real world, you're actually interacting with people, seeing their facial expressions, shaking hands, laughing, crying, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I'm not really fond of this whole digital thing. I'm not against digital, like I said. They've been coexisting with physical games for quite some time now, and that's cool. And I think that's how it should always be. But it's like a division, a split down the middle. You have your physical media people, and you have your digital media people. And the digital media people, a lot of times, they don't even make any sense. They don't know what they're talking about, especially the newer generation. They think that digital is the way to go, because they weren't there in my time where you had to go to the store, get the game, line up, get a physical game and all that. They're just used to this whole digital thing. You just download a game. And those are the same ones that complain when the server goes down or the server's having an issue for that day, and they complain and say, hey, I paid for this game, I can't play it. Like, what do you think? I mean, it's digital, so, hard drive crashes, SD card crashes, whatever the case may be. And some people say, oh, you can just delete a game you're not playing, but I don't like to do that. I like to own my games, because you can delete that game, and that be the game you deleted might be the game they delisted. You can't even re-download the game, or if you don't re-download the game, they may have a patch where it takes out all the fun exploits. It just alters the game, it changes the game. That's why a lot of times I do not like to update my games and that's the thing with the digital games. They're always updating it and they're always patching it, and companies have, if anything, trained us to think that an update for a game always makes the game better, which it doesn't. It actually makes the games worse 9 out of 10 times. How many times have you had a game where you enjoyed it, even if it was a glitch? It could be a fun glitch, a really cool glitch, but now the patch took that out and it just ruins the game. It happens to me all the time, and that's why I have several systems for several reasons. I have several systems because I don't like to update my system and update and have updates for the games. Understand what I'm saying? So I have my standard console, my daily console that I will use, and that's the one that gets updated and whatnot, because you still want to play online, you still want to access the eShop or the Microsoft Store or PSN to download your favorite games, right, or a new game. So you have to have that one standard console to do those things. Now my secondary console, that's a console I keep offline. And you gamers already know what I mean by I keep that one system offline to stay away from those patches that have ruined the game and have DRM. Like my old Xbox consoles, those aren't connected online, so I can just pop the disc in and it works. Or I just cut the system on, it goes straight to the dashboard. Unlike the Series X, where you press a button, you see the little screen comes up asking if you want to play offline, or you have to update your game just to get past the dashboard to play, and that's the DRM check I'm telling you guys about. So moving forward, I really don't even see the point of even buying the consoles, man. The video games hasn't really changed that much. If you look at from 2013 when the PS4 and the Xbox One came out up until now, the graphics don't look any different. Still the same dashboard, still the same controller, still the same old games every year. So it's just a whole big waste of money, and people aren't really buying a lot of games anymore. And Nintendo got lucky because with the Switch, people supported that system a whole lot physical hardware and the physical games as well. So that's why a lot of developers are jumping on the Switch 2 train, because they missed out on the Switch success, and everybody wants to put their games on the Switch because people knows that actually these developers know that people are going to buy these games on the Nintendo system and enjoy them. So hopefully down the line, a year or two, more developers embrace the physical cartridges, and Nintendo also needs to make a deal and take some of the hit for these developers and try and supply them with these cartridges as cheap as possible, which entices developers to continue to make games on the cartridges and not push those digital game key cards. And Nintendo also needs to make different cartridge increment sizes, 2 gigs, 8, 16, 32, 64, and even up to 128, because these game files are getting really big. They managed to squeeze Cyberpunk under 64 gigs. And I understand developers don't like to compress their games. When you compress the games, you lose a lot of quality, sound quality, and graphical quality. So I think that's where Nintendo's going to run into the problem. Sony did have a good idea back in the PSP where they had those mini discs. I'm pretty sure nowadays we have the technology to go back to those mini discs, like a mini Blu-ray disc that can hold 100 gigs at least, 80 to 100 gigs or better. And I think that's actually a good idea, and going back to those mini discs. And it would be cool if Nintendo do something like that. I think they should, because these cartridges are very expensive. So coming out with a Blu-ray, a mini Blu-ray disc like the size of the PSP disc that holds a set amount of gigs, I think that may be the way to go. That's another saving grace, and I'm surprised nobody ever really brought this up to these developers' attention. But yeah, guys, I'm not gonna rant on it any more longer. I just want to let you guys know that I'm not really feeling this whole future digital era. I think physical games is the way to go, and it's what keeps the console's identity. Once you remove the physical media from it, I mean, there's really no point of you even buying consoles anymore. You might as well just go PC, honestly. So, but we'll see what the future holds. But if it goes all digital, I'm pretty much done. I'll just play my old consoles and I'll be happy with it. So let me know in the comment section how you guys feel about that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and what do you think about this video? What do you think about this whole digital future? Are you going to miss the physical games? Do you think it's just time to move on from physical? It's never time to move away from physical. And anybody that supports digital 100% aren't true gamers, and they do not know what they're talking about. Trust me. But once those licenses expire, that's when you're going to see those same guys complain that, oh man, I paid all this money for this game and I can't play it. What do you think? You don't own the games. Red Crimson Gaming, I'm out of here. Like and subscribe.